racing preview. Bing Crosby once saying it's the most wonderful time of the year. Unfortunately, he's saying that about Christmas, but horse racing punters and lovers are singing that right now because the best horses will come out to play this Saturday at Moonee Valley. I'm Ben Waterworth, and he's very happy with himself this week, folks. I actually caught him looking at the mirror a little bit more than usual because all of his best bets got up last weekend, and I hope you got on them because you would have got a very, very nice collect. Very nice to see Mr. Metrosexual himself, Ben Asgari.
Good to see you, Benjamin. Geez, isn't Melbourne resplendent in its spring finery? And it's Cox Plate weekend, the greatest race of the turf. The Melbourne Cup might be the most famous, but the Cox Plate's the race all the racing purists want to win. It's the one you want to go to. It's often called the greatest 2 minutes in sport. You're guaranteed to have a great race every year, and it's the big one, the Cox Plate. It's here, and we're pumped up.
And we're about to dissect the daylights out of it. Well, as Benny just mentioned, the Cox Plate is possibly the famous 2 minutes in sport, where legends are made over 2,040 metres. It is a Group 1 race, and we're all really disappointed with the field we had for the Caulfield Cup last weekend. But this field for the Cox Plate, Benjamin, is looking absolutely fantastic, pristine, you could say. And it's headed by Helmet, who, after the Caulfield Guineas win a couple of weeks ago, has really turned some serious heads. Yeah,
well, 2 weeks ago, it looked as if, well, not 2 weeks, maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, it looked as if we were going to have a really disappointing Cox Plate, much in the same fashion as the Caulfield Cup. But as you said, Helmet came out and was super impressive in the Caulfield Guineas. The Caulfield Stakes forms held up for the likes of AVNS. Desperado this morning's actually came as the big news. Desperado's out of the Cox Plate, so AVNS will get a start.
Now, just on that, Desperado is one of those horses who runs up front. Does that sort of change how the race is run as well?
Yeah, it will. It's important for the punters that like Glass Harmonium and Helmet, especially. It probably means less pressure, so it's going to make it harder for the likes of Secret Admirer, Rekindled Interest, Efficient, the old boy who actually the Moonee Valley Committee promoted into the field.
Ahead of Yossi as well.
Yeah, that was big news, and those back markers, it's going to be a little bit tougher than what it was with Desperado in the field.
There's a couple of other big names as well. Lion Tamer is another one. Wall Street, who won the Emirates last year. This is an unbelievable field, but who are the horses that really take your fancy? Is Helmet the one to beat here?
Yeah, I think he is. I think it's an even group of older weight for age horses, and I think it's a very good crop of 3-year-olds. I think they get huge weight relief, obviously. 3-year-olds have a great record in the year. We had the likes of So You Think doing it a couple of years ago, and Savabeel a few years before that. Octagonal, obviously, in the 90s. So I think the calculation of a really good 3-year-old against a sort of average bunch of older horses, I think Helmet deserves his favouritism. I like Rekindled Interest, but he's well found. He worked huge at Breakfast with the Stars the other morning on Tuesday. I think there's a little bit of an overreaction in the market though. He's been backed in from $13 to as short as $6.50, so I think he's well found, and I think probably doesn't represent value at the price. And the other one I like is, if you want something at a bit of odds, you don't like the favourite, you don't want to back Helmet. Secret Admirer is a very, very talented mare. She's going to get back, and history says that Epsom handicap winners don't win the Cox Plate, but if they go hard and she gets the last crack at him, she's got the talent to run over the top.
One horse he didn't mention, but I might possibly be getting on, is Jimmy Choo, but that's on between you and I. Plenty of other huge races on Saturday afternoon at Moonee Valley, and one, of course, is the Moonee Valley Cup. And the big story here, Benjamin, last year's Melbourne Cup winner, Americain, very big famous win over So You Think in the Melbourne Cup last year, is back for the Spring Carnival, and looking forward to seeing how that horse goes about on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, he sure is, Ben. It's the first chance the Australians get to see him since his win in the Melbourne Cup last year. Admittedly, his form hasn't been as good this time around in Europe. Out of the Sandown Quarantine Centre, he isn't as forward as last year, so he may need the run, but he's come up favourite, and that's on class alone. It's an interesting race. We get to see Bart Cummings leading Melbourne Cup chance, a German horse having his first start in Australia by the name of Illo. There's been a little bit of specking in the early markets for him. Last week's Caulfield Cup third place getter Tullamore is in the race. The impressive Herbert Power winner, Shaywan, he's also in the race. So it's a tough race for betting, but I recommend that all the viewers out there keep an eye on the Moonee Valley Cup this year, because it's a strong field, and I think that you can follow it looking towards the Melbourne Cup in a couple of weeks.
Of course, that is over 2,500 metres, big Group 2 race, the Moonee Valley Cup. Well, possibly the biggest horse to race on Saturday afternoon is the one and only Black Caviar. It'll be a sea of salmon and bleak dots if you're from New Zealand. That's what it will look like at Moonee Valley on Saturday afternoon. She's going up in the Schweppes Stakes against only 4 other horses, a 5-horse race. Is this the biggest waste of time ever, Benny?
No, it certainly isn't, Benny.
Here we go.
We're up and about.
Very cute.
We get to see the world's fastest horse again on Saturday, Black Caviar. She's only up against 4 rivals, which is a little bit disappointing. But she's going to go around $1.04.
Jeez.
She'll just win
So
again.
short.
She can go around the canter. She'll beat those. Interesting that the former Australian Horse of the Year, and he's been living in America for the past year or so. Scenic Blast makes his return on Saturday.
The only one who can possibly challenge Black Caviar.
Oh, I don't. Even at his best, he wouldn't be able to challenge her. And first up from a spell, he's probably a good chance to run a well-beaten second, but she'll just go around, and the crowd will get to enjoy watching her again. It'll be easy as you like for her.
And if you're in the Eltham area, you can see Ben Asgari wear this hat as much as possible. The racing world cannot wait for these upcoming sentences. It is time, of course, for Ben's best bets, and I understand you like something in the last race, Benjamin.
Yeah, wanted a bit of each way value this week. We don't have the special that we've had in the last couple of weeks, the load up job.
We've been very good over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we've given them test of my patience, load up, more joyous, load up at the early price, and we got the job done. But this week, Troy Corson's from Malua Racing assures me that Neriani's improved after a huge performance on 1,000 Guineas Day. She drew wide, was 3 wide the trip that time, and this time she's drawn the rails, and she should get a lovely run. No speed in the race. She'll each way odds, probably worth a bet there. Race 9, Neriani.
Neriani, race 9. Get on that for a huge collect. Well, that's all we have time for on Upstart Spring Racing Preview. Benjamin, your work has been as good as always. You'll be out there at Moonee Valley with your little Black Caviar hats and waving your flags as if Jennifer Hawkins is just walking through the area or something like that?
Yeah, I'll be out there, Ben. What about yourself?
I'll possibly making an appearance, but I'll be putting my money away because I've seen me be a lot more wiser before. Thanks for joining us here on Upstart Spring Racing Preview, and don't forget to stick around on upstart.net.au, of course, the magazine for emerging journalists.